Coming up, we are going to discuss how you can celebrate Halloween at not only the Disney parks, but in your home as well. All that coming up from the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida. This is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 748 for the week of October 23rd, 2014. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, again, welcome everybody to the Diz Unplugged live here in the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I am Dustin West, your host for this segment, and I am joined at the table today by my dear friends Kathy Whirling, Jenny Lynn Knopp, Teresa Eccles, and the creepiest thing I've seen all day, Corey Martin, who is celebrating Halloween. Back in the production nook, we have Craig Williams, our associate producer. Thanks for that, Corey. I guess you're in the Halloween spirit. That's a traditional Venetian mask that we got in Venice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun.
Thank you.
But as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to talk about celebrating a Disney Halloween, not only at the theme parks, but what you can do at home for you and your kids. And I've asked Kathy and Teresa and Jael to kind of contribute their thoughts of what you can do for a Disney Halloween. Now, I wanted to start this out. We have a lot of stuff you can do at home, but I just want to kind of start out the segment by talking about what there is to do at the Disney theme parks for Halloween. I know we've covered specific events in great detail, but let's just kind of get a general overview of what there is to do for Halloween in the Disney theme parks. Who kind of has some information on that?
Teresa just gave me the evil eye.
I guess it's you,
I
Kathy.
give you the nod. Take that one, Kathy.
No, it was the eyes.
Stink
Just
eye.
the Halloween party. I mean, that's a great way to, celebrate Halloween. I think it's a safe way to celebrate, too. You don't have to worry about your neighbors, like what's going on in the neighborhood. Somebody going to do something with candy. You can just do it right there in the parks.
And, of course, Disneyland also has their Mickey's Halloween party. I forget the exact title of it.
That's it?
Mickey's Halloween
Mickey's
party.
Not So Scary.
No, that's here.
Yeah, but at Disneyland they also have that. So,
And Disney Cruise Line celebrates Halloween on the high seas. They decorate and have a beautiful Halloween tree and trick or treating and everything else.
Olani, too. I think they're doing something this year.
But, I had a client that was a little concerned about the decorations on the cruise ship creeping out their kids that I'd never thought of before.
They are a little more, I don't know, what's the word? It's not so frou-frou-y, I guess. I don't know. I think I like them. The ones I've seen are the haunted tree and the lobby and the pumpkins.
I don't want to say it's more intense, but it's something the kids probably aren't used to seeing as part of Halloween.
Right. And of course, also for Halloween within the Disney theme parks, obviously the merchandise shops are no stranger to Halloween. And this kind of ties into what we're talking about with what you can do at home. A lot of the stuff that you can buy in the Disney theme parks for Halloween, you can also get online and bring into your home. Now, Jael, I know you had a few ideas of some things you can do at home for Halloween. Where would you like to start with that?
Well, when we lived in Virginia, obviously this is something I relied on heavily because we couldn't get to Disney. We tried to usually do it once a year, but that was usually in May. We never made it for any of the Halloween events in the fall. So one of the things that we did throughout the month is we would have a day of the week where we would watch a Disney spooky movie. And there's quite a few of them out there, actually. So it can carry you through the whole entire month, and it kind of helps you build an anticipation until Halloween Day. So, we would watch things like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, or at that time it was on a VHS tape, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Combo pack.
Yep. And now they have, well, not now, but we're seeing it come out a little bit more. Hocus Pocus. There's a lot of
Haunted Mansion, Halloween Town.
Well, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
And actually, a while back, Craig, I found on the Diz, wrote an incredible blog post about the Disney movies that went with the season.
I was actually going to give myself a shameless plug after you were finished. No, last year, right before Halloween, I wrote a kind of a top 10 list of the best Halloween movies, even going back to the animated shorts from Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all of the gang, and we'll have to dig up the link for it somewhere. And
you actually don't have to, because we just put a blog post up on the Diz where I wrote an article about how to plan a Disney Halloween party in 10 steps. And in that post, there's a link to your blog post where you talk about the movies. One that you didn't mention, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see it in the article, and it's one of my favorites because it's particularly eerie. So eerie that it's shocking that it's a Disney movie. But many, many years ago, they did a movie called Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah.
And it is beyond creepy.
Yeah.
That one, as well as Watcher in the Woods
Honestly,
with Bette Davis.
I was planning on doing a part 2 this year for the rest of the ones that I missed out on. But yeah, there will be hopefully here. I'm running out of time. I guess it's about a week away from Halloween. But no, we'll try to get that out there quickly then for the part 2 of all the other Halloween movies, cartoons, TV shows, anything. So kind of getting more into like the Disney Channel original stuff, because I left that out last time.
Yeah.
I can't recommend Halloween Town to anyone.
Sorry, Craig.
Okay.
Before we go on, let me just ask the table. Are you big like Halloween people? Do you celebrate Halloween a lot?
Not at all.
Really? Wow. And why do you think that is?
I've just always been that way. When my late husband was alive, I would go buy the pumpkins, and they'd carve a lot of pumpkins, but he was always the one that handed out the candy. I was just the facilitator.
Did you get a rock in your bag when you were a kid?
No, it just never really. My birthday's at the end of October, and I like my Halloween-themed birthday cake, but that was as far as it ever went. I never really. My whole family was like that. We just weren't into Halloween.
Okay, well, I kind of like Halloween.
Clearly.
We start preparing in September at our house. We pull out the decorations and put them up, and while I'm putting them up, whoever happens to be home with me, we start off with Hocus Pocus. That's our first one of the season.
Yeah.
And we watch it several times. We can quote it back and forth. We love it. And we have special food we eat. And I just love, and it was weird because I've always loved Halloween, but now I'm pulling in Disney into it for me too. With my I buy a little new headband or something every year. And
do you think having younger children helps you get into that Halloween spirit a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's different. Like Julie and I, we always still dress up, but we used to go to Halloween parties, more adult Halloween parties, and now we concentrate more on what the kids are wearing and what they want to dress up as, and we look at each other like, okay, now what are we going to be? Usually we try to theme it.
So
when we started early, we would do a whole
before
theme.
you had kids, it was all about.
Yeah, we would dress up and we
Go to
know what we're
parties
gonna
and
be,
stuff.
but now we concentrate more what the kids are going to be, and early on we would try to theme all together. Like
do the group theme,
Julie and the kids, they were
costume
bugs,
deal.
and I dressed up as a bug man.
That was a cute year.
And-
That was a cute year.
And I try to do mine like last minute, like what can I get at Walmart and do an iron-on shirt or whatever. But now it's more about the kids.
We've done that with our family as well the last few years, doing the whole family as a group. I don't always get compliance with my children, but I try. So 2 years ago, when they had opened up Storybook Circus, in order to kind of honor that, I dressed up as a ringmaster, and I had my 2 girls dress up as lions. So we went around the Halloween party as the ringmaster with lions. I did have a little crop to keep them in line for the evening. And then last year, we did the Sherwood Forest theme, and Disney does have the Robin Hood movie. We didn't dress up as, the Robin Hood fox or whatever. We just did the regular characters, but I was Robin Hood. My oldest daughter was one of my merry men. My youngest daughter was Maid Marian, and my son was a crusader for King Richard. And
Wow.
See, we're not about the costume, and I've never been about the costume.
You're more about decorating.
I'm more about decorating and entertaining, and even as a child, I can remember driving my parents insane with whatever I could make for decorations. You know how you have, when you're a kid, you get the coloring sheets in the fall in school. Remember those?
Yeah.
And I wear that orange crayon down to nothing. The orange and black, orange and black.
Wow.
Well, Teresa, this is a perfect segue into, I think, what is JL's first point. You know, for a long time, it's been all about the costumes, right? And I think we've seen over the last several years, decorating for Halloween has rivaled like decorating for Christmas.
Oh, it's right there.
You know, it's grown and grown and grown. So I know you have a few ideas for decorating your house.
Actually,
for
Teresa's
Halloween.
probably the expert in decorating, but I mean, I certainly found a few things online that were great. Obviously, the DisneyStore.com has quite a bit of merchandise you can purchase there. Usually the themes on DisneyStore.com center around Haunted Mansion. We all know that there is a lot of Haunted Mansion. As Kathy
has
is
her
modeling
ghost
for us
host.
today. They have a lot of Haunted Mansion merchandise these days, and it's not cartoony or cheesy. Some of it's a bit upscale, candelabras and mirrors. And in Memento Mori, the new store in the park, actually, they're selling these pictures. Maybe it's been mentioned on an episode before, but they're selling these pictures. You can get a portrait taken of yourself, and then they transform it somehow so that when you move across the room, it changes into a decayed body, much like Master Gracie in the Haunted Mansion. So you can get pictures of your family, each person in your family taken. You know, and what I would do is I would get one of us, and I would hang those pictures up during Halloween, and the pictures change.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really well done.
And Kevin John has
Yes.
a new picture at the
Memento
store. So
Mori.
if you want to, change your photos out for the holidays.
Which I do.
They do. They have really great artwork there, in addition to the clothing. And they also have at DisneyStore.com a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. Those seem to be the two primary themes. There's a few standard Mickey, Minnie, and Halloween, whatever there.
You can
but
go to like DisneyFamily.com or FamilyDisney.com, whichever way that is, I'm not sure. And they have a lot of arts and crafts and ideas and things that you can print out. A lot for younger children.
Yeah, the activities.
And we'll make sure we have all these links on our show notes page,
I mean, there's,
disunplugged.com.
Pumpkin carving and the printouts to get your pumpkin to look like
Right, the
whatever.
stencils for that.
Stencils.
See, those are inexpensive ways to incorporate Disney. Like what you were talking about with the changing picture, I'm sure that's not incredibly
No.
cheap.
Yeah.
That's got to be a little more
It depends
pricey.
on how much you want to invest. If you go to eBay, they seem to have more generic things that you can decorate for Halloween with. You see a little bit more of the Winnie the Pooh Halloween type stuff, or the Toy Story Halloween stuff, even Princess Halloween type stuff. So that's a little bit more of a mild
My
version of Disney Halloween.
absolute biggest tip for getting Halloween decorations is the day after Halloween, just like the day after Christmas. You go to Hobby Lobby, you go to Michael's, you go to Target, and they do have Disney Halloween stuff. Some of it is in there.
On clearance at that point.
Yeah, at that point. And it's like a,
Can I ask
free-for-all.
why Halloween? What is it that excites you?
Halloween is, for me, this is my answer to that. Halloween is different from other holidays like Christmas Christmas is the only other really big one other than Thanksgiving. But it's one where it's playful. It's less, I think it's less sentimental than the other ones, though it can be sentimental. It's more playful. You get to be somebody else. Your house gets to be transformed into something that it's not. And for some people, you get to explore your wild side a little bit more than you would the rest of the year. And I think that's kind of cool for some people.
Especially if you dress up as sexy Olaf.
Well, actually, I was going to throw in for me.
Does that exist? I'm
That
sorry.
exists. I'm
Yes, it
sorry.
does.
It's really
It does.
ridiculous.
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
I was good. For me being down here in Florida now, obviously we get lucky and sometimes get down to like 60 degrees at night if we're lucky in this time of year. But Halloween has grown to become either my favorite holiday or right up there, match it up with Christmas. First, because it's my dad's birthday, so happy early birthday, Dad. And second, just because growing up in Pennsylvania and experiencing the actual fall season and going out to an actual pumpkin patch and getting a real pumpkin and apple cider, and then even like dropping down into the 40s and 50s whenever you're going out trick-or-treating, and that it's just...
Or it's snowing.
Yeah.
It's traditional.
As an American culture, it does set the tone for the traditional harvest season. And that's
Harvest.
It is. No,
I
but
know. No,
that's
it's the start of fall.
It's the fall season. Yeah.
The
can I-
leaves are changing.
Can I add the disclaimer that back when my kids were small, because I know my kids are probably going to say something, I used to actually make their costumes. So I would do things for them, but for me personally, it's like,
No, when I was a kid, and still, Halloween, you're going to eat chili, whether it's hot or cold.
oh really?
That's
I'm
a
going to make
tradition.
you chili before you go out trick or treating.
Yeah.
And there was always the town I grew up in was very small, and there was always a weenie roast at the ballpark. Then that was, you'd go up there and you'd have hot dogs and marshmallows, and then you would go trick or treating through the town, and you would take bars of soap, and if you didn't get candy, you would soap their windows.
Okay.
and-
I used to sell Halloween insurance so that if your windows got soaked, we would come clean your windows, and the money that we charged, you bought like the insurance package, we gave that money to this charity in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think everyone has failed to mention probably why a lot of people like Halloween, or at least why I like Halloween. I like the feeling, and for, I guess maybe it's genetics, my kids like it as well, the feeling of being scared, but without being in any real danger.
Yeah.
But there's an excitement that goes along with that, experiencing something creepy, a little bit eerie, a little bit dark, you alluded to that, but without there being any real danger. And
Right.
then obviously you're talking to the girl who looks for any excuse to put a costume on, so I'm into Halloween.
And now with the expansion of if you're a Disney fan, Disney is not just Mickey Mouse. There's so many other different things. You have Haunted Mansion, you have Pirates of the Caribbean, you have Hocus Pocus, you have all these things that are kind of under the Disney branch that tease that line of it's almost really scary, but it's not. It's still safe. And so you can incorporate that stuff.
Well, bring out the villains.
Oh,
all the
yes.
villains, and then you've got so many ways you can go with that in your house. You can make the same dessert in your house all year long, but at Halloween, it becomes a poison dessert, or it becomes the evil queen's whatever.
Julie roasted the pumpkin seeds the other day.
Yeah?
I love those.
Roasted pumpkin seeds.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I also see mentioned on what you're kind of talking about, different types of Halloween parties. We're talking about trick-or-treating and stuff like that. In the kind of current atmosphere, trick-or-treating is kind of getting a bad rap with all the stranger danger stuff that's currently going on.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with your kids trick-or-treating, or you want it to be more about having closer friends, just having a fun night together,
Yeah.
what are some kind of party ideas you can think of?
Well,
for Disney?
that danger's always been there. I can remember when I was a child, that was when the blades and the apples and all, you go to the hospital.
Inspect the candy.
Inspect the candy. My dad inspected it all and ate all the good stuff. And that's always been there. But now I think, because we're not staying in that same community we've always been in.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know all my neighbors, so you can't go. You have to find alternatives. And having just the friends over for a slumber party, the immediate friends, or having a bigger family, and having other whole families come over, not just the kids. I think that's a good idea.
Tomorrow night the Down Syndrome Association is having a thing, trunk or treat. It's the
Yeah.
first time
Yeah.
doing a trunk or treat, but that's a fun way to do
Yeah.
trick or treating, because it's
You know
it's
everybody.
organized, and we kind of know each other, and so that's gonna be our first time experiencing that.
That's fun.
Trunk or treat, for those of you who don't know, is when everybody just lines their car up and they open their trunks, and that's like their candy station.
And some people decorate the inside of their
Yeah.
trunks or some. I don't know. I've never been.
It's a different world now, and it kind of makes me sad, but I try to, I still offer trick-or-treating at my home,
Yeah.
and I usually get a few people.
That's not what it was.
No,
and
it's not at
throwing
all
a
what it
Halloween
was.
party is a real easy way to provide an alternative, and for the Disney fan, you would want to throw some kind of Disney Halloween party if you can't get to Disney yourself. So, and there's so many different themes that you can go with for that. And like I mentioned before, I did just write a blog post that posted yesterday, I believe, about giving different ideas if that's something that you're interested in, and how to plan a Disney party in 10 steps. But
I have a one-word tip.
Go ahead.
Pinterest.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
For all of you planners out there, if you do not understand what Pinterest is, you want to know what Pinterest is, it is full of ideas, and not only just ideas, but instructions on how to do specifically Disney, actually. Disney food items, Disney costumes, do it yourself or where you can buy it, Disney game activities, everything that you would want to include in a Disney Halloween party, it can be found on Pinterest and how you can make it happen.
Okay. And what about, like, I know we've kind of touched on some of this stuff, but what are some other, I don't know if you have any ideas, other, like, kind of crafts you can do? We mentioned pumpkin carving. You can do the coloring pages and stuff like that. I mean, how can we get creative and getting inexpensive for Disney? Like, what are some ideas there? You know, it's one thing to go on the Disney store online and just like buy all this stuff. But
No, you want to get the family involved.
Pumpkin carving is relatively inexpensive. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to Publix and get a pumpkin for $5 and print out a Mickey Mouse stencil online for free. I mean, it's
And for
is.
those
Every-
that don't want to have to put in the arm work for pumpkin carving because it's massive, something I found is people are now pumpkin painting instead
Yeah.
of pumpkin
Yeah.
carving.
our kids did that too. Yeah.
Equally
Yeah.
cool and easy.
It is every year since we've been here. Grace has had a group of friends, usually 4 to 5 or 6 friends, come over, and we've already done it this year. And they sit around, and they each have a pumpkin, and they have a good time just carving and I think there were 6 this year, and they were all in my front yard at one time until they all took them home, or they've already decayed into the ground.
I wanted to ask you, what's the tipping point of decay that they get removed? At what point are they
Well,
brown
I
and
came
droopy?
home one year. I can think it was last year. I went to work one day and they were all perfect, and I came home and they all had an inch of green fuzz all over them, and it kind of was eerie. This year they stayed intact and looked fairly good for a while, but then all of a sudden they're just like flat into the ground.
Do you know what another alternative for that is? I actually went to a pumpkin carving party last year, I think it was, and we all did our Disney pumpkin stencil, whatever, carving. But we didn't use actual pumpkins. They now sell those styrofoam
foam ones,
pumpkins in the craft stores, and it was so much easier to carve, and obviously it didn't decay, and it can be used year
But
after
there were
year.
no pumpkin guts to throw at each other.
Well, this is true, and if you don't
that
like
your
pumpkin
ritual?
guts, that's an advantage sometimes.
And I'm assuming you can't put a candle in the styrofoam one.
yeah,
You have to put a light
right.
bulb.
You have to put a little flashlight or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, a little fake candle.
But it is an alternative. If you
It is
don't
an
like pumpkin
alternative.
guts and you don't like decaying pumpkins, there's a cleaner version of it.
You know, all this depends on kind of how much you celebrate Halloween. You know, some people go all out. Some people don't do anything at all. Some people would rather go to the theme parks and let Disney do all the work for them and just get the atmosphere. And those people will make that decision, and they will come down to Florida, or they will go there. If they already live in Florida, they'll go there and do that. And some people want to go all out with their home decorations, their costumes. And you talk about costumes, I mean, there's just limitless number of Disney costumes.
You know what
can
I thought was
incorporate.
interesting? DisneyStore.com does not sell adult costumes.
Really?
They only sell children's costumes now. Many years ago, they used to sell adult costumes, and they don't anymore. And you can find many Disney adult costumes in other places, and you can make them. But they don't sell them there.
Doesn't seem to be a problem, because if you step into the Halloween parties, you realize how creative people can
absolutely.
really be, and how talented people can really be with their costumes. I mean, going into the very first Halloween party, like some of the Anna and Elsas that I saw, like those look like real dresses that you would wear to a gown. A gown that you would wear to a ball.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible stuff.
You know, it also brings up a very interesting trend that's happening these days for people who want to dress up but not dress up quite like that. And it's something called Disney bounding.
which I found very fascinating.
I find it fascinating
Yeah.
as well.
It's
And
like street style clothes.
yes, for people who don't understand the term, it is dressing up in a way that is inspired by a Disney character. So, for example, you might see a girl either in the park or outside of the park these days, because people are doing it in everyday life, especially in California, what I found out. But you might see a girl running around in a yellow skirt with a blue tank top and a red bow in her hair. And it's not a Snow White dress, but it very clearly speaks to being inspired by Snow White. You'll see this with all of the princesses usually, but even other
Disney characters.
Minnie Mouse and Donald Ducks and
There was
Just with the colors.
Heatherly up at the Massachusetts meet that she was Ariel, remember, in her outfit? That I didn't realize that that's what she was doing till later in the evening. And somebody went, "Oh, you're bounding," and it's like, "Oh, okay."
It's
yeah, it's
minimalism.
an actual thing that's got a term and all of that.
Yeah.
And at least especially for Halloween, for you have the adults that don't want to get dressed up in
Now that
costumes.
I
but
would
this
do.
is exactly this is an alternative for adults who don't want to get dressed up but still maybe want to participate to some degree.
It's like taking the character and putting your own little twist on it and keeping it low key, and you can go in so many different directions with it,
Now,
Interesting.
It's like, what's that show that Julie watches? Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Those Disney characters aren't like out of the book. I mean, they're
Right.
They're all very different looking.
now talking about doing stuff at your home, what are some like food or snack options that we could talk about for Halloween? Either of you guys.
The easiest ones to alter for the holiday are cakes, cookies,
Cookies.
cupcakes, usually dessert items. I actually found something online which I thought was neat. You know how Christmas has the tradition of you get together and everybody makes gingerbread houses. This one was making a Winnie the Pooh pumpkin patch or a Cinderella pumpkin patch.
They have haunted houses you can...
You can make haunted houses. I thought the pumpkin patch was a little bit different because it veered from the house, but you get little gumdrops and
Kathy is so unimpressed by all of this. It's hilarious.
you get little gumdrops and
told ya.
you decorate them like pumpkins, and then you have the whole like layout of it and make fences with pretzel sticks and all that, and Rabbit has his garden sign there, or again, it could work for Cinderella because obviously she needs pumpkins for her coaches. But
And of course, the ever-present pumpkin flavor in everything this year.
Everything.
Everything.
Especially at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Get your
Well,
pumpkin
it's everywhere.
spice.
I bought some
Wear your Ugg boots.
god-awful Pepperidge Farm pumpkin cookies the other day, which I had, and I love pumpkin, but there was just something funky about them. But pumpkin waffles on Halloween morning or just, I don't know. I mean, you could turn the most common. I can remember when the kids were little, taking basic snacks and turning them in, or just calling them something different. Whether it's vegetables like munchies. It could be fingers and eyeballs and
Yeah.
just turn it all to make it a Halloween treat.
something like apple cider can become Snow White's poisoned apple cider.
Right.
or-
And you talk about, inexpensive ways to incorporate Disney into something like that. Make a Halloween cookie that is 3 circles and all of a sudden it's Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
And make it pumpkin shaped or something. Your creativity,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to baking, like desserts and stuff like that, to incorporate Disney into that is super easy.
Just change the color and change the name
and add a few little extra decorations, or sprinkles or something.
Yeah, it's very clear. Then.
It's not that hard to put little Mickey ears on a mummy cupcake, with 2 little mints or
purple
something.
sugar, glitter sugar goes a long way to make it something into a
I
villain.
used to think I was creative till we had this discussion, and now I feel like the mess sergeant in the cafeteria or whatever. It's just like, hey, here's your food. I'm not,
Gruel.
Do you know what I saw, which I thought was so cute? I saw Ursula Cake Pops. Ursula being a Disney
Right.
villain. And I do not know how to make a cake pop, but some people do. And whatever that coating is that they put on it, they had let little strings of it hang on the side for the tentacles. And it was purple, obviously. And, just it kind of alluded to the idea of Ursula. But again, Pinterest people, this is your friend. You'll find tons of ideas out there, especially when it comes to food.
So what am I missing so far that we haven't talked about? Just wanna
see.
check with you
Music.
guys. Music. Talk to me about what kind of music you can incorporate.
Well, Disney-wise, there's quite a lot of it. You have an entire soundtrack for Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
The Haunted Mansion has an entire attraction spiel. that you can listen to. All of the movies have soundtracks. I mean, am I correct?
Yeah, for the most part. However, I'm also in the boat that Nightmare Before Christmas, despite fitting into Halloween well with This Is Halloween and the fact that the movie starts as soon as Halloween is over, I look at it as a Christmas movie that
I see it as
helps
both.
branch
I see
the
it both.
holidays.
I think it can branch both holidays, but
This also makes me think about, you're talking about you can play different types of music. It starts making me think of when you would play that music. When I think of Halloween, at least with my upbringing, I think of it less as a season or a holiday season that you decorate for and you plan for. I see it as one night. And so,
Oh,
like,
Dustin, you're missing so much.
I know.
You really
I know.
are.
So what? Like,
Come to my side, Dustin.
I'm leaning more toward Kathy. What we would do as a kid was we'd go all out, but for one night, and we'd play like creepy, music and have creepy decorations. But then we'd be gone the next day, and time for Christmas now.
Oh, okay. At 12:01 on Halloween, that crap's going away because I've been looking at it for 6 weeks, and I love it to death. But I also love the fact that I'm packing it away, and the holiday's done.
Yeah.
Once we come back from trick or treating, or we've had our party or our get together, it's a done deal for me. I'm moving on. Bring out the green and orange and the red. So,
We used to have music playing. I would put music out in the bushes as kids came up.
Oh.
Okay, that's it. That's all I would do.
creepy music in the bushes.
Yes.
That's cool.
You would just wait there.
No, I didn't jump out.
Were you waiting on the front porch?
No,
Like a
I was in the other room watching TV. I just put the music out there. That
That's
was
something else I don't like about today. No one, everybody's sitting outside waiting. There's not knocking on the door and opening the doors.
Well, everything now, it's like, people like, peeking in your house. Like, oh, that's a nice TV.
In our
Maybe
neighborhood,
they'll rob your house the next day.
They sit at the end of the driveway in their lawn
Yeah.
chairs. They don't even.
See, I don't
But
like
I
that.
think for the people handing out candy, it's kind of fun for them because
Oh, it
they can
is.
see people.
Yeah.
It's
See,
more of an
That's
event.
the part I didn't like. Like the kid would come up to the door and they're standing there and you're supposed to go like, oh, cute little whatever.
Oh, you say, "Oh, who are you supposed to be?" And then you say, "Who are you?" That was my mother would always say that. And then if she didn't personally know you or know your parents, hit the road, dude. You're not from our town.
Wow.
I mean, because I realize now it's a different world, but back then, you trick or treated in your own community. You weren't bused to the next town to get your candy, get your your pillowcase full of candy.
You ever used to go to the houses where they just have the whole bowl of candy with the sign, please take
Okay.
one, but it was
Yeah.
empty.
Now, where we lived before, we lived in Noonan, Georgia, before we came down here, and that town got into Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, people would decorate the outsides of their homes, and it was old Southern homes, and there was one house that Grace was chased a block and a half with a chainsaw by this guy. I mean, it was
Oh,
it was
wow.
amazing. You had to get past the evilness to get to the candy, on the porch, and and it was just. I mean, it was amazing that people they really got into Halloween,
Yeah.
and I love it.
I like it when communities come together and do
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Let me ask you a question that, as I'm thinking of things that we're talking about, what do you do with, especially as a Disney family, what do you do with a child that's maybe getting a little too old for Halloween? How do you transition and keep that kind of spirit
You there
alive?
yet, Jenny Lynn, with your kids?
we're getting there. Again, if they get tired of dressing up, the bounding is a nice alternative in that regard too.
Yeah.
That way they can still be participating without losing their cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like my daughter, she's 14 this year, and I don't know that she's going to be trick-or-treating with us this year. She has other things that she would like to do with her teenage
Yeah.
friends, and I'm probably going to be inclined to allow her to do so. Or, I mentioned this in I'm sorry to keep referring to my blog post, but I just threw a lot of stuff in that particular post.
Yeah.
I think a great thing for teens would be to have a Disney spooky movie night sleepover. That way it's all contained.
Right.
I still, if you're living in my home, you are forced to watch these movies, whether you're into it or not. And with Grace, that's where we came upon, because when we moved to Florida, that's where she kind of got out of the trick-or-treating. And that's where we incorporated the pumpkin carving. And that's where give the kids knives, set them down, and let them carve away. Stella is 12 now, so we did not trick or treat last year. She was kind of, oh, this is kind of awkward, kind of, because you're moving into that, I got a pillowcase, I'm going to throw on a headband and I'm gone.
I remember the year clearly when I wore a wig and had a pillowcase. I don't care anymore.
Okay,
but I'm still doing it.
I just want the candy. So, it's a weird, awkward phase. And then they move on, and then
Then they start wearing next to nothing.
that's right.
The
You
skimpy
know, like,
color.
oh, you're a nurse? Okay.
You're barely a nurse.
But,
Where are you working?
If you are passing out candy, let them. Stella likes to pass out the candy and be the, and see the cute little kids. She's moved on into that. So, and then help with, if you are having a get together with younger kids, let them be the ones that are helping with the crafts.
That's a really good
with
point.
the younger kids.
Yeah.
It's
with
very
the coloring
true.
sheets or the whatever you're going to make, whatever the little,
I know that Margot would probably, be fine with if I take the
Decorating
two
the
younger
cookies.
ones out to go trick or treating, and she would be the one to stay home and maintain the door and give out the
Right.
candy.
Yeah, I remember doing that as an awkward teenager, and
Yeah.
that gave me some sort of purpose on that night.
Right, it is.
And I got to watch TV. So.
Right, and it is,
cool.
and you are going to graduate more towards maybe the non-Disney, scary movies, which I don't really care for those, but I realize they serve a purpose, I guess.
Is there anything else we're not hitting on yet?
Let's see, snacks. I think something fun now that people are doing is because of Facebook and all the media. I love to see people's costumes, and
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of posting on what they're doing.
You can get really creative with that, and I think that's another thing that could be incorporated with your kind of awkward teenage child is get them interested in being creative and creating a costume. Whether they go around and wear it or
Right.
not is one thing in public, but I know I got really into making my own costumes
Yeah.
at that point. It went from I got the store-bought one because I was a little kid to
Right.
carrying around a pillowcase.
Pillowcase with your wig.
with my wig, and then going, I'm going to be a giant cardboard robot,
Right.
and I'm going to spray paint it and I'm going to make it myself,
Right.
and that's the kind of stuff I
It's
love
like
to see.
you evolve through it
Yeah,
all.
I love seeing the creativity of all my friends and all the people out on the internet
Yeah.
who come up with some really cool stuff. The other thing is that the internet has kind of led to Halloween being year-round. You're always seeing like Comic-Con conventions and
The
stuff like
cosplaying is
cosplay
huge
stuff.
these
People are doing it
days.
year-round, and it's like to try to get like the best costume possible is almost impossible because there's so many creative
It's like
ideas for that
professional looking
stuff.
stuff out there.
Yeah. But I love the idea. I love the idea of the Disney bounding, where you can get creative in your own style of clothing that you wear, but incorporating like the color schemes and the attitudes
I think that's
of
awesome. Yeah.
those characters. I would do that. I would do that as an adult, and I'm not prone to dressing up for any.
I think we
occasion.
should all do that for a show.
Yeah.
Come in our little
Oh, I'm there.
outfit.
Yeah.
Kathy,
I'll do that.
Let's plan.
Come
a date.
on.
Kathy, get in the spirit.
Get in the spirit.
Before the spirits get you.
That's right.
No, I could do. I said, I don't want to keep going back, but Heatherly with her, she just had like the sequined blue top and black skirt, and she had like a starfish around her neck. Now that I could do because I realize you have to, like if you said to me you're going to be Ariel, I could do that.
You'd be Ariel?
Well,
She would wear
Well,
a
for that-
seashell necklace or something.
yes,
Yeah.
but
I was so proud of you when you bought this shirt you're wearing.
that's it. That's
I
as
couldn't tell enough
creative as
people
it
about
gets.
that. Yeah.
But for me to sit down and think now, who would I want to be? I'd have a really hard time with that because I have no idea which Disney character.
I
don't-
know in a heartbeat who I'd be.
If they had
Who's
a,
that?
Oh, Edna.
And
if they had Figment, I would do a Figment costume. But other
Well,
than that,
no, you would just
the whole
pick the
point.
colors.
Right,
Pick the
right.
colors.
Right.
We're going to do this. We are going to work
you
on
need to
that.
come in with like a purple blazer and
Just
like,
rock
an
the
orange
colors.
tie.
okay.
That would, you
tail.
would just look like the
Maybe a
Joker from Batman. But yeah, unless there's anything else I'm missing.
Well, I mean, if we're focusing on Disney and bringing what's in the parks to your homes, we've skipped the whole YouTube thing. I mean, tons of people have what's going on in the parks in videos on YouTube, including our own.
We'll take a look.
site.
Before this show, we had, the park bench videos of Halloween at Disneyland, and we have a whole bunch of different stuff like that that you could put up on the TV in the background and
Right.
set that tone.
And these are things that you can be doing throughout the month in order to kind of build the anticipation of the holiday coming. YouTube's so easy. People have tons of videos on of Boo-to-You parade party, the costumes that are going on there, villain soiree. I mean, there's just so much of it.
Right.
So in that way, you can bring the actual park into your home
Yeah,
instead
you
of
can-
trying to recreate it.
There's a lot of great of online things you can do to prep for Halloween. Like you said, especially Pinterest is really good.
Yeah.
YouTube, following certain people on Instagram. You can really get into the Halloween mood, and you can find creative ways, especially through Pinterest and YouTube, creative ways to bring Disney into your home if you're not able to make it to the theme parks for that particular Halloween.
It's easier than it has ever been these days.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this segment, talking about bringing Disney Halloween into your home. I want to thank all you guys for contributing, and we hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to us on youtube.com/WDWinfo, and make sure you like our Facebook page at facebook.com/DizUnplugged so you can keep up to date with all our shows. And again, we hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week with another edition of the Diz Unplugged. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.